Good evening, everyone. Hi, who's a hi, Elizabeth? It's so good to see so many faces in this beautiful room that I know and have worked with and love so much. Anyway, hi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sally Lou Loveman, and I am a passionate volunteer, supporter, and advocate for mental health and Erika's Lighthouse. This room is filled with mental health advocates. Raise your hand if you are one. See? Wonderful, thank you. And if you are an Erika's Lighthouse board member or council member, I am certain that the people you invited here tonight are the people who have supported our mission the most. So when I say this with a little piece of fear, but not totally. Very briefly, thank them. Just thank them, just a little thank you. Just look at them and thank you, but not too long, because we're on a schedule. Thank you. Okay. Thank you is a big, important thing that we do here, so thank you. And you'll have plenty of time to thank all of your friends later. So my family has experienced our own challenges with depression. I know firsthand the impact of Erika's Lighthouse, of how Erika's Lighthouse has impacted me, my family, my community, so many people around the world, literally, as I know you all do too. Our son struggles with depression and anxiety, but through talk therapy, wilderness therapy, medication, support from his family and friends, and a strong belief in the mission of Erika's Lighthouse, which is, for him, speaking about his mental health. I am grateful to say that he is doing extremely well. And I'm also really proud to say that he will be running the Chicago Marathon for Erika's Lighthouse in the fall. Go Team Resilience. Thank you. So in front of you, you'll see this little gratitude journal, or maybe it was on your seat, I think. So it's part of the program. So at some point in the evening, we invite you to write down, right here in the front here, a name or many names or some names of someone close to you who's been impacted by mental illness, depression, or suicide. This will be your tribute. It will be your why. I'm truly honored to be here tonight to share a story about a young girl, a family, a community, and an organization that has big dreams, but isn't afraid to get busy and put real work, real solutions into action to make a difference. 20 years ago, this community, our community, we experienced a tragedy. And actually, we experienced two. Two tragedies, two losses. Two young people dying from their depression. We were destroyed. Families, friends, students, educators, everyone. We felt the emptiness, the hopelessness, the loss, and we questioned, how did we get here? How could this happen? And how do we move forward?
I remember the day that my daughter called and told me that Erika had passed. There was an overwhelming sense of shock, disbelief, and sadness. Sitting around the table at Tom and Jenny's kitchen table at their home, we spoke about Erika, her life, her depression. But we also spoke about the future. We focused on what was something positive that we could do. How could we ensure that this never happens again? One vision kept coming. We wondered, what could we do to become a beacon of hope and help for young people suffering from depression? and really for young people everywhere.
As the vision for Erika's Lighthouse progressed, it became clear that we needed to focus on two things: education and prevention. And so we began at school. Schools are the heart of communities everywhere. We knew that they could make a profound impact on our children, our families, school staff, and our community leaders.
So we knew our mission. It was to support schools around mental health, depression, and suicide prevention. And we knew that we could do it by educating students, school staff, and their families. We initially hosted a walkathon. We actually created posters that listed the signs and symptoms of depression. We helped organize young people, and this was all at Washburn School, because that was the only school that would really allow us in at that point. And that's where Erika had gone to school. She was in junior high. And we wanted to focus on their needs and perspectives and try to help them. We created a website that directly impacted the students and their families. And slowly, the community began to move forward from shock and despair to hope and togetherness.
And we also began implementing effective programs in our schools. We started at Washburn with a curriculum designed to educate students about depression and suicide. In order to engage and support families, we created a parent handbook that walked families experiencing depression through the disease and how to access help when they needed it. And students at Washburn, friends of Erika's, created a mental health club to further their own learning and understanding.
What began as a small group of friends around a kitchen table has turned into something incredible. From loss into action. Our growth has been organic and patient, but importantly, our mission has never changed. We are still committed to remembering our roots. We are memorializing Erika by focusing on the future so that no family will ever experience such a loss again.
As we look ahead today, we do so with the same goals we had when we were founded: reduce stigma, normalize conversations, encourage good mental health, and promote help seeking by creating inclusive school cultures around mental health. Every person in a child's life must be involved: families, educators, and friends. Because every student deserves good mental health, and no child should feel alone in their depression. Thank you.
Thank you.
These unacceptable losses had changed everything. A beacon was lit, a passion and power fueled by loss, with a very simple idea: never again. But that's the challenge. You see, our two losses were disturbingly not unique. Suicide is the third leading cause of death for young people today. And in 2004, these conversations, they were not happening. They were rare. Erika's Lighthouse set out to change that, to create a new narrative, one where young people can have open conversations. But impacting young people is so much more than teaching a curriculum. It's recognizing that young people can change the world, and they can manage their own mental health, and their voices are paramount. That's why Erika's friends came together to make that difference. They empowered their peers by opening up conversations, focusing on good mental health practices, and sharing real stories from real teens.
I remember learning about Erika's passing like it was yesterday, being at school, hearing rumors and vague comments about what had occurred. But it was clear from the start, the school had no idea how to speak, behave, or foster meaningful conversations around mental health, depression, and especially suicide. But losing Erika was the impetus for change. From the very first days, there was an overwhelming feeling of community and togetherness. We all joined to mourn, talk, and educate. we knew that this was the time to get depression out of the dark. What began as attending vigils quickly turned into developing mental health-focused programs for our education systems.
I don't remember who told me or how I was approached about joining a teen panel, but I do remember meeting in the Washburn Library weekly with bright colored poster boards discussing depression. We discussed our emotional needs, our concerns, we grieved and asked honest questions that we had about depression. It was a handful of us that had the privilege to talk openly about something shocking that had just happened in the community. But we also knew that that privilege did not belong to us. It belonged and still belongs to everyone.
And that was our next task, sharing what we were learning with the whole school. We set out to ensure everyone in the school could have open, honest dialogue about mental health. We were determined to normalize these conversations about mental health. We started with educating our friends. We worked to guarantee our teachers and mentors were trusted adults, and we also helped educate our parents and our families. In our goal to prevent this from ever happening ever again, we knew it would take everyone working together and using the same shared values and vocabulary. What we found during the process was inspirational. We learned that young people are hungry for this conversation. They wanted to talk about mental health, and their voices made our work even more effective.
That mission continued as we went to high school. We named ourselves the Stigma Busters as we fearlessly, although I do remember being extremely fearful, about sharing true stories of our own mental struggles, with the purpose of shedding light on real young people, our peers, that were not afraid to share experiences with mental health. It was unbelievably empowering. So empowering that in 2021, I heard from someone I went to high school with. He said, "I know we didn't know each other, but I remember you saying something about your own mental health struggles on the teen panel. I found it comforting and I felt less alone." A statement made by an Erika's Lighthouse teen panel member resonated 17 years after it was made. And that is the power of Erika's Lighthouse.
While Erika's Lighthouse was born from loss, we are alive by action. We have spent the last 2 decades working to make sure no one feels alone in their depression. We are transforming school cultures across the country, just like we did at Washburn and New Trier. We are reducing stigma, normalizing conversations, promoting good mental health, and encouraging help seeking.
And in our efforts, we're not just empowering youth in our schools today, we're also inspiring young people to take charge of their mental health. We're educating them to support their friends, their families, and their communities. And there's maybe a chance that one day, just like me, they'll become mental health professionals dedicated to ensuring that every child knows that they deserve good mental health.
And with that, Erika's Lighthouse was on the way, starting in our community and spreading the message of hope to students around the world. Locally, more beacons were lit, and it started a chain reaction that has continued. Beacons have and are being lit everywhere, every day, because of this amazing work. Every student deserves good mental health. And Erika's Lighthouse is working tirelessly to make sure that that becomes a reality.
In 2004, a family faced tragedy that reverberated through the community. A vibrant young girl, Erika, was lost to her depression. But an idea turned into a rallying cry. Never again. This family, this community, would not be still. Tom and Ginny Newkrantz, with the support of family and friends, were determined to turn loss into action. With pen to paper, hearts to hearts, Erika's Lighthouse was founded. The goal was that no child should feel alone in their depression. Affecting 1 in 5 teens before adulthood, depression is the leading cause of suicide. It is also minimized and rarely discussed because of the stigma associated with the disease. This must change. Since the beginning, it has been about schools. It was about promoting informed, inclusive environments, prepared to respond to the mental health needs of students. And from there, programs evolved and expanded, with messages that resonate with the teens most impacted. Facts, guidance, and most importantly, hope.
Erika was just a normal kid. She could have been any kid. She did not struggle with depression all her life. It came on acutely within a year, and then she was gone.
Erika was a vibrant, beautiful 14-year-old, very intelligent, a member of the community, had lots and lots of friends, and we were stunned that an illness could get so bad that a young woman like that would take her life.
With a determination to create programs that would have educated and impacted Erika, the real work began.
Over the years, our programs have changed to meet the needs of students. When we began, the idea of mental health education in classrooms was almost revolutionary. It is so fulfilling to see the impact our efforts have had in changing conversations, not just within buildings, but within entire communities.
Today, Erika's Lighthouse is continuing the legacy that was first written down at the kitchen table in a time of tragedy. With lessons from the past and a vision toward the future, Erika's Lighthouse is breaking down barriers, reducing stigma, and transforming communities, school by school.
Erika's Lighthouse is focused on 4 main areas to promote inclusive school cultures: classroom education, teen empowerment, family engagement, and school policy and staff development. Along with our partners, we are making an impact. Depression literacy, good mental health, help seeking, and supportive, trusted adults are vital for children to thrive.
From little things, big things grow. A pen to paper, a paper into a mission into a program into a movement.
Erika's Lighthouse was founded with big hopes in a small community along Chicago's North Shore. We began in a single middle school, and as Erika's friends moved to high school, we followed. As word of our mission spread, so did Erika's Lighthouse. Today, we are serving hundreds of thousands of students around the globe, and we are just getting started.
And so it goes, school by school, community by community, spreading a message of hope to teens around the world. It began as a way for a family and community to gather, to heal, and to make good on the promise of never again. But it has become so much more. A new rallying cry has emerged to get depression out of the dark, letting every teen know you are not alone.
It really feels as if we are just getting started, but building off of 2 decades of success. We're still making waves. We are still believing that every student deserves good mental health and lighting beacons in communities around the world. Before dinner, which, by the way, please continue to enjoy as our program progresses, we took you back to the beginning. We learned how one loss activated a group of passionate change activists and started this powerful movement. Now we're fast forwarding to today, right here, right now. Erika's Lighthouse is so much more than a small nonprofit on the Chicago North Shore. It's the embodiment of its history and its mission. It's a shining beacon of hope. We're not just focused on awareness and taglines. Our programs are putting real action in place and doing it at such a vital time, rising to the challenge of a youth mental health crisis unlike anything we've seen before.
Some, it may feel like kids have it so easy these days, but the pressures facing today's youth are so different than in the past. From when we were kids, our futures have been planned for us. We are given high expectations about school, sports, and extracurriculars. These high expectations have led to almost impossible standards to meet for college, which we absolutely must attend. Coupled with the stress of things we cannot control, like social media, climate change, politics, and everything else, it can make you feel isolated and hopeless.
And I see those stressors every day in my class. The pressures are real, and young people are struggling. That is one reason I'm so thankful to Erika's Lighthouse. By utilizing resources created by Erika's Lighthouse, I can incorporate best practices when teaching my students ways to build resilience, manage stress, and develop healthy coping strategies. The essential information is presented in engaging, real-world scenarios. My students are engaged in group discussions and simulation activities. Erika's Lighthouse has empowered thousands of students in my school alone.
While I have never had Jason as my teacher, I'm one of those teens that has been empowered by Erika's Lighthouse. At my school, we have the Your Mind Matters Club that has helped my peers share their experiences and become a support system for others. Teenagers today have the most impactful stories regarding mental health and inspirational ideas for mitigating this issue. Erika's Lighthouse gives students the tools to become advocates for themselves and others. We are able to expand on our supportive community and help thousands.
Erika's Lighthouse programs are designed with a teen-centered approach and provide students with the skills necessary to recognize the signs and symptoms of depression, both in themselves and in others. By experiencing the classroom education lessons, my students learn relevant and practical health skills rather than simply memorizing content. This skills-based approach allows students to practice and apply the skills needed to manage their mental health and to lead healthier, happier, and more fulfilling lives.
When we started working with Erika's Lighthouse at my school, it was because we saw the power and respect around youth voice. Each voice found through mental health advocacy impacts everyone around them and allows others to find their own. Erika's Lighthouse encourages teens to use their voices to spark change and inspire others to join the movement and take the next big step in mitigating the crisis that is breaking the stigma. We need each other as a support system, which can best be done through sharing our experiences and offering one another empathy and advice. Implementing these programs in my school has seen our school transformed, with more students seeking help and support.
For 20 years, Erika's Lighthouse has worked tirelessly to provide resources to help eliminate the stigma surrounding mental illness. Their evidence-informed programming has been a fixture in my health classroom and has guided me in teaching adolescents about maintaining good mental health. I have seen my students have an increased awareness of how they can support their own mental health and well-being and contribute to a positive mental health culture in their school and community. I am grateful to have such impactful resources that originated in our own backyard.
So there you have it. Erika's Lighthouse is working around the country to get depression out of the dark by promoting factual, positive, empowering conversations around mental health, lighting beacons of the next generation of leaders. And with the right approach, evidence-based and best practice, the words that we all want to hear when we are making an investment in our youth, which is our future. We know that we are putting effective, meaningful programs directly in the hands of schools, students, families, and educators. And the conversations around mental health, they don't have to be scary, right? They're not scary. They're actually empowering. Hearing the stories of how our efforts are positively impacting young people is something that we hear every day. It's why we love the work that we do and why we continue to push on. But there are more impactful stories. Stories that uplift and truly demonstrate the reason we are all here tonight. Erika's Lighthouse is saving lives by reducing stigma, normalizing conversations, promoting good mental health, and perhaps most importantly, encouraging help seeking.
I'm a survivor of suicide. I say that before anything else because it completely defined who I am as a person and the work that I do exponentially. My kids were 7 and 11 when their dad died by suicide, and telling them was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. There are times that I relive that moment on repeat. I can close my eyes and see it like it was yesterday. It is that feeling that ignited my passion to improve awareness and training on suicide prevention. Experiencing suicide on a personal level forever changes who you are and the uncontrollable desire to never let it happen again.
While I have never had to experience the pain of a personal suicide loss, I've always been passionate about mental health. I'm able to embrace that as a health teacher. I spend every day in a suburban school district working with some amazing young people. I see the impact the youth mental health crisis is having. But positively, they want to have this conversation. They want to talk about mental health. And Erika's Lighthouse is helping me to do that by fostering these conversations. The lessons, materials, videos, and teaching guides gave me the confidence to approach mental health in a way that reduces stigma, something I always wanted to do, but didn't know how.
Mike struggled with addiction that spiraled many times, where I spent hours calling every hospital, jail, shelter, and friend that he had trying to find him. He was drowning, and despite treatment, jail, and numerous hospital visits, there seemed to be no helping him. But not everyone has such obvious signs of mental distress. That is why it is so vital that everyone has the education and tools they need to break barriers that we know exist in mental health. I led suicide prevention efforts for one of the largest public school districts in our country. The materials every school accessed through Erika's Lighthouse, regardless of their ability to pay, was a game changer. At a large urban district, equity issues are a top concern, and it is difficult for every school to offer rigorous and impactful curriculum for our students. Erika's Lighthouse removes those barriers, and they consistently update their materials to ensure students have new content that they can connect with so that we can end suicide. Erika's Lighthouse brings awareness to break the stigma of mental health and make it okay to talk about suicide. They give opportunities for students and adults to learn about proactive and positive ways to address mental health and suicide prevention. And most importantly, they give hope to so many that did not have hope before.
I've experienced this firsthand. I had a seemingly well-adjusted student with strong grades, plenty of friends, and an involved and supportive family. After completing the Erika's Lighthouse curriculum, he indicated on his self-referral card that he needed to speak with a mental health care worker in the next 24 hours. The school counselor had never met him before, barely even knowing who he was. He had never appeared to struggle, nor had he asked for help. But the Erika's Lighthouse program empowered him to fill out his referral card and ask for help. That card, and I hope his trust in me as his teacher, saved his life. Not only had he struggled with suicidal thoughts, but he also had a complete plan for following through. Without the Erika's Lighthouse program, that young man may not be with us today.
Thank you, Cassie and Michelle. Thank you. This is why Erika's Lighthouse was founded. This is why we're here tonight, lighting beacons of hope. 20 years ago, reeling from a loss, sitting around a kitchen table, this was the vision. It was pretty incredible to see it here tonight, Ginny and Tom. This was the vision. This was the mission, to create programs that would have resonated with Erika and other young people to save their lives. And with your support over these past 2 decades and your continued support tonight and beyond, we are doing it. We're following through, and I invite you to join us.
Hi, we are Hornets for Hope, and we're going to be miking up people today for our Stay Back training we do every Tuesday. Thanks for watching! What is your name? Brian. And what is the definition of stigma? It is a negative perception of something. Who am I here with? Addie. And who am I here with?
Easton.
And how do you know if a source is reliable? If it's up to date. And
if it has .org or .gov, and no Wikipedia.
who am I here with today? Nala Domini. What is the definition of self-care?
Taking care of your physical and mental health.
Who am I here with?
Addie.
Okay, so what is one thing that you use to cope?
One of my coping skills is just doing things I enjoy when I'm stressed out, like playing with my dog or baking. Those are things that I like to do.
Who am I here with?
I'm Tim Hudson.
What are some things you've learned in the Save Act training on Tuesdays in English class?
I've learned that it's important to talk to a professional if I'm struggling, and it can never hurt to ask for help.
What's your name?
My name is Mason Creekbaum.
And what is one thing that you've learned from your Tuesday lessons in English class?
I've learned that the symptoms for depression are different for everybody, and everyone's going through different stuff, which is why it's different for people.
What's your name?
Carson.
What coping mechanisms do you use?
Coloring.
I mean, who doesn't like to color? Thank you, Monroe High School. We know our programs work. We have the stories. We have the data. We have the mission. Every student deserves good mental health. I'm going to ask us all to say it together because we've said it many times. Join me. Every student deserves good mental health. No child should ever feel alone in their depression. And as I've said before, and many of us have said, we are more than just awareness and taglines. We are here to bring those statements into reality. The future of Erika's Lighthouse is shining bright, like this light looking at me right now. It is shining bright. Now I can't see. One that the staff, volunteers, and supporters like all of you are making happen every single day.
Over the past 20 years, Erika's Lighthouse has grown and evolved. As the needs of schools and young people have changed, so have we. But proudly, we have always kept true to our true north, supporting school communities and fostering conversations around mental health. Schools are the heart of our communities. They shape our youth, impact our families, and spread messages of hope far outside of a building's walls. Because of this, our programs are positively impacting every stakeholder in a school community. We're educating and empowering youth, preparing educators and school staff, from bus drivers to principals, and engaging parents, siblings, and families. From one school, we are transforming communities. Winnetka may have been our start, but today we are so much more. We are promoting open, honest, factual conversations around mental health, depression, and suicide. We are ensuring that our young people feel heard, supported, and empowered.
As many of us know, since the pandemic, the call for action around youth mental health has been even louder. We have seen the dangerous decline in youth mental health around the country. In response, Erika's Lighthouse has stepped up our efforts by ensuring our curriculum is skills-based to align with the National Health Education Standards. We partnered with our friends in Los Angeles Unified School District to create an upper elementary program to educate younger students. We revitalized our empowerment clubs, pushing them down into elementary schools and growing to more than 95 clubs globally. We created all new family engagement programs and resources, including workbooks and workshops. We made a commitment to the Alignment for Progress with the Kennedy Forum. We formalized our staff training and empowering educators to support their own mental health and well-being. And we're forming national partnerships with Kiwanis Key Club, SAD Nation, and other national school mental health partners.
And believe it or not, improving, expanding, and creating new programs is just the start. Over the past 5 years, Erika's Lighthouse has seen our programs impact more than 5 times the number of young people. This school year alone, we have directly impacted more than 700,000 students across more than 2,500 schools. We are doing this because we are dedicated to a sustainable and scalable Educate the Educator model.
We know that school professionals know their students better than we do, so we educate them on how to use our programs and resources to make the local impact their students need. We allow them to adapt our programs so they will be the most impactful for their students. And it works. Having teachers and counselors teach and implement our programs help young people identify trusted adults that they are surrounded by every day. After completing Erika's Lighthouse programs, over 96% of young people can identify at least one trusted adult. We heard from Cassie how impactful a trusted adult can be for a young person.
And just to put that in perspective, last school year, that means over 670,000 students were able to identify a trusted adult after the program and get the help they needed. And after 20 years, that number is over 2.6 million. This is just one metric out of several that demonstrates the power of Erika's Lighthouse programs for schools, students, and families, and why our continued growth and expansion is vital for schools and students. I don't know how to put it in other ways, but except to say we have big plans. By the 2025-26 school year, we will be impacting more than 1 million students annually. And with the right determination and support, thank you. And we already have early plans in place that by 2030, that number will be 2.5 million. You can use the envelopes on your table to make a donation today, and that's what's gonna make sure that that happens. We are working hard to ensure that every child knows they deserve good mental health, and this is a formal invitation for you to join us.
Those numbers, they're amazing and they're astounding. What Erika's Lighthouse has planned and has already put into action. As a longtime volunteer, I am so inspired to be here tonight and to look back and see where we've come, what we've accomplished, and where we're going. Over 1 million students impacted annually from when we started, now I'm twisting my words, to where we've come today is so inspiring. And even more so because we've done it by using the past to guide our future, lighting new beacons from the first.
As you can imagine, being here today is bittersweet, but hearing from all of these amazing volunteers and supporters makes it far more sweet. Over the years, Tom and I, our family and friends, and the broader community have taken Erika's Lighthouse's mission to heart. We've watched it grow from one school, Washburn Middle School, to over 2,000 schools today. Thank you. You know, the teachers that were up here didn't say they were from Indiana and Kentucky, and you saw that video was from Ohio. Yes, this is what I dreamed. And I remember saying to a friend, oh, sometimes this is just so hard. And she's like, don't worry, Ginny. Nobody knows what an Erika's Lighthouse looks like. It can be whatever you want it to be. And she's here in the room now, but I thought about that a lot when things weren't so easy. But I'm saying it is a group effort. We had this dream, this idea, and it evolved and grew to what it is today. It truly is inspiring.
Over the past 20 years, we have grown from a small North Shore organization to a national and I think international thought leader. Real action is what we're all about. We don't believe in abstract solutions and wishful thinking. Erika's Lighthouse offers turnkey, easy to implement programs that any school can use. We are focused on educating the educators. So meaningful conversation around mental health, depression, and suicide can be fostered and sustained year after year.
As we look ahead, we see even more ways to empower even more young people. We know from day one that young people have the skills and the ability to take charge of their own mental health. As long as they're taught, that is what we are doing. The youth mental health crisis can be overcome, but we have to start by equipping young people and their trusted adults with the tools they need to practice good mental health so that they know to ask for help when they need it.
You can help us. As Brandon and Katie said, we can impact 1 million students a year by 2025. And these numbers, we're not adding up everything for the last 20 years. These numbers start every year on July 1 and go to June 30. Sorry. So we're going to get to 1 million students a year impacted. And then by 2025, as I said, we'll be at 2.5 million. How are we so sure about that? Well, every prediction we've made about what we're going to do in the future, we've exceeded so far. So with your help, we'll exceed these numbers too. So I'd like to make a toast. I'd like to make a toast. So get some wine or whatever you want to put that's liquid in your glass. And join me in a toast to salute all the people that have worked with Erika's Lighthouse for the last 20 years, including many of the people in this room. It's amazing. We can't keep track of all the people. The lady who is from here, from Kentucky, I mean, she lost her husband and basically started in Erika's Lighthouse, is accepted all through Kentucky. So we're doing that over and over again.
So from our kitchen table, where we started, to classrooms around the country, as you've seen this evening, and in this room, filled with so many passionate supporters and volunteers. This journey is also your journey. It's our journey. And to Sally Lou Loveman for doing all of the storytelling tonight. Here's to all of us.
Here's to us. Here, here. All right, let's go.
Cheers, Tom.
Tommy.
What's that?
Cheers.
Oh, thank you. I thought you were going to. I thought it was wine you were going to give it to me.
Nobody's going to.
Okay. Thank you, Ginny and Tom, and to all our speakers. Thank you. And with that, we are turning the page on our next chapter of our work. Ginny and Tom and so many of you committed here tonight, committed board members, volunteers, donors, staff, family members, educators, friends, supporters, you have all lit the way. And we are excited to have you join us as we continue lighting beacons for millions and millions of young people everywhere. Can we give all of the people that I just mentioned another round of applause? So, a standing ovation. Yeah. Thank you. So I have one question. Thank you. A well-deserved standing ovation. So I have one question for all of you as you leave here tonight. How will you light your beacon? For me, I will always advocate for young people to speak up about their mental health. Mental health literacy is also a very big priority for me. Words are important. Words matter. Educating people to replace old language with new language around suicide makes a huge impact. It makes a difference. And since I was asked to be tonight's storyteller, I decided to keep a tally of how many people I've educated along the way with new language. And the number is 19. From my taxi driver to our president. Okay, let me explain. So I was recently listening to, or watching actually, the Howard Stern interview with President Joe Biden, and our president used old language around the topic of suicide, and it bothered me. So I immediately reached out to a friend who has very close ties to his staff, and she promises me that that information was passed along. So being the complete eternal optimist and dreamer that I am, if you hear our president speak with updated language around suicide, just know that I lit that beacon. Anyway, you never know who and how your words will land on different people, but how will you make your difference? While we're here celebrating 20 years of Erika's Lighthouse lighting beacons, we're not extinguishing any of them. In fact, every one of you here tonight is a new beacon. You have the power to be a trusted adult for a young person, and that is so powerful. As a reminder, there are donation cards on your table, like we have said, and staff and volunteers, we're all so happy to take your donation, no matter what it is. We are grateful. Your support is essential as we continue supporting young people everywhere. So that concludes our program, and dessert will be served in our back room. Thank you all so much